What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to episode 17 of the Be Great podcast. It's a lovely, beautiful Friday. Today, we're going to have a little bit of a short episode. I'm going to be heading to Athens, Georgia here soon. I'll be in Athens for Georgia, Mississippi State. I won't be physically at the game, but I will be in the city. So, we're just going to get into this. We're going to do my game picks and then we're gonna get out of here. That's what we're gonna do. I considered just skipping today and just coming back on Tuesday, but I had a feeling that watch this be the time that I go undefeated in the game picks, but no one believes me and everyone thinks I'm cheating because it happened to be the one week I miss. So we're just gonna get into it. Week 7, we got some good matchups. First off, Washington at Iowa. I think this is one of the harder games to pick. I'm going to go with Iowa. Good defense, bounce back from the game against Ohio State. The offense will be able to score a little easier on Washington than they were against Ohio State, and they're at home. Washington's having to come all the way across the country. Give me Iowa. South Carolina at Alabama. This is a classic bounce back spot for Alabama. I think they're going to roll. I think they're going to hurt South Carolina's feelings. Give me the Tide. The Red River Rivalry. Texas, Oklahoma. I think, I talked about this in the preseason before the season started. I didn't love, as far as Texas is concerned, I didn't love for them that they have to play this emotional, hot rivalry a week before Georgia's coming to town. That being said, I do think they're going to beat Oklahoma. I know this game's always close, and even though Oklahoma hasn't been the better team, they've managed to pull out the victory a lot of times. But I think this Oklahoma team is just flat out not good, and they're certainly not as good as Texas. So give me the Longhorns. Penn State USC. I think this is an interesting one. I think this is a upset alert spot. But at the end of the day, I think Penn State is a really good defense, a really good football team, and USC has just looked dreadful since their win against LSU. But this is one of those spots where I could totally see USC beating Penn State. Lincoln Riley could really use this win. And this could be one of your classic James Franklin, you know, uh, messing up a big game spots. But I'm going to go Penn State because I think they're the better team. Arizona BYU, another interesting one, but with BYU being at home, they just seem too electric being at home. So I'm going to go BYU. Give me the Mormons. Florida, Tennessee is one of those interesting ones where it's, again, kind of like Texas, Oklahoma. It seems to not matter who the better team is. But with this being at Tennessee, with them just having lost to Arkansas, I think Tennessee wins this one. I do think it's going to be close, especially, at halftime, third quarter, but I think they'll pull away in the fourth quarter and win this game. Ole Miss LSU, another hard one to pick. I'm going to pick Ole Miss because at the end of the day, I think they're the better team. LSU has not been impressive this year. But I will say this is a real spot for LSU to come out and prove something and show that they still got it, show that they're still one of the contenders here in the SEC. This is their chance. This is their opportunity. This is a revenge spot from last year. They're at home. It's at night, typical LSU. But I think that Ole Miss is overall the better team on offense and on defense. It's just going to kind of come down to, honestly, it might just come down to who has the ball last. I could totally see this being a shootout, just like it was last year, and it might just come down to who has the ball last. But give me Ole Miss. Give me the Rebels. Ohio State, Oregon is the big game of the weekend. Look, I'm going to go with the prediction that I made before the season started. I said I think Ohio State's winning the Big Ten. I think they're the most talented team in the Big Ten. But I said that they're going to falter. And that one falter spot I said was going to be at Oregon, but then that they were going to get their revenge and beat Oregon in the Big Ten championship. So give me the Ducks, give me Oregon to win. And if this game was at Ohio State, I would 100% be on Ohio State here. But with it being at Oregon, that tips the scales for me. So give me Oregon. Iowa State, West Virginia, a sneaky good game here. Iowa State undefeated. To me, they look like the best team in the Big 12, but West Virginia is not a bad football team. And I'm going to go Iowa State. I think that defense is really good. They have a lot of older guys on that team, a lot of veteran guys. And I think that's really helped them so far this season. So give me Iowa State. Kansas State, Colorado. I don't know if the world could survive if Colorado wins this game. I really don't. I'm going to go Kansas State because I think they're the better, flat out, I think they're the better team. All right. Yes, Colorado has probably the two best players in this game in Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, but everything else I favor Kansas State. Kansas State has a very good defense that I think won't necessarily be able to shut down Shedeur and Travis, but will be able to do enough for their offense to pull ahead and win this game. I think they win this game by at least 2 touchdowns. So those are the picks. I actually went through that way quicker than I necessarily wanted to. We're only 6 minutes into this, so I am going to go a little bit longer than 6 minutes. Georgia is playing Mississippi State this weekend. I would love to finally see a dominant 4-quarter performance from Georgia other than their game against Tennessee Tech. That would be nice to see, and this is the game for it. A really good get-right game for them before they have to go to Austin, Texas. And that's just what I need to see. Colbie Young, by the way, Georgia wide receiver, was arrested for, what was it? Abuse to an unborn child, right? Something like that. Which it was interesting because the news came out that he was arrested for abuse to an unborn child. And then the police report comes out where it's very iffy because the girlfriend says one thing, he's saying a completely different thing. And they're just not lining up at all. So, of course, a lot of people want to jump on it immediately and say, oh, it's out of hand. Georgia's culture is terrible. Okay, first of all, the kid is not guilty yet. Okay. He has not been proved. I don't know why. See, in this country, we've completely changed to they're guilty until proven innocent, when it's supposed to be they're innocent until proven guilty. Colbie Young is innocent until he is proven to be guilty. That's why he wasn't kicked off the team. You see, you notice the difference between Colbie Young and Ra Thomas. Ra Thomas was the next day he was kicked off the team. Colbie Young is just suspended indefinitely. I would imagine he's just suspended until they figure out more about this case and see if he actually did it. And look, if he actually did it, then okay, we can talk about it that way. But I'm not going to talk about it that way until I actually know that the kid did it, because that is unfair. Flat out, it's unfair. I also just find it convenient. All anyone wants to talk about is the kids on Georgia that get arrested. They don't want to talk about anybody else, which it's fine. That's what happens when you're an elite football team. That's what happens when you're at the top of the sport. I get it. But I just wish we could see, some consistency, but we don't. We do not. Let's see. Is there anything else I would like to talk about? It's a big weekend in the sport. Next weekend's a big weekend as well, obviously, with Georgia, Texas. I think that Georgia, Texas game, I think it's kind of a must win for Georgia. Not in the aspect of, if they lose, they're out of the playoff, because that's not true. With 2 losses, you're not out of the playoff, especially if those 2 losses are Alabama and Texas. You're not out of the playoff. I wouldn't say you're out of the playoff until you have at least 3 losses. Now, of course, if you have two losses, it does depend on what those two losses are. Like if those two losses were Kentucky and Mississippi State, then yeah, I'd say they're done. But that's not going to be the case. Um, but I do think it's a must win for Georgia. I think they need to prove something. I think they need to go to Austin and finally make a statement. They made a statement against Clemson, but everyone thought that the statement was, "Oh, Clemson sucks," but that turned out to not be true. And we're seeing as the weeks go on that Clemson win for Georgia looks better and better. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I think Clemson could beat Miami. Miami has not looked impressive the past 2 weeks at all. They've looked mediocre at best the past 2 weeks against Virginia Tech and Cal, a Cal team who lost to Florida State and a Virginia Tech team who lost to Vanderbilt. And don't sit here and tell me, oh, but Grayson, Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Okay, I understand that. By the way, Vanderbilt, Kentucky this week. Could Vanderbilt win again? I think they could. I think they could win again. I wouldn't pick it, but I think Vanderbilt could win again this weekend against Kentucky. And speaking of Vanderbilt, I saw something on the schedule, and I just think this would be low key, very funny. So obviously, Georgia went to Alabama, and Alabama won. And the next week, Alabama had to go to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt won. Well, guess what? Georgia goes to Texas next week. And guess where Texas goes the week after they play Georgia? Vanderbilt. How low-key funny would it be if Georgia goes to Bama and Texas, lose both, and then the following week Vanderbilt beats both of them? How funny would that low-key be? I severely doubt it would happen because Texas will not take Vanderbilt lightly like Alabama did because they don't want to look like what Alabama looked like. But it would be quite funny if that happened. But of course, as a Georgia fan, I'd be depressed. Let's see. Is there any other news that I can think of that came out that we want to talk about? I know Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, and Tony Petitti, Big Ten commissioner, they met up. I think it was yesterday. I think it might have been yesterday. They met up and they were discussing a possible schedule agreement. I know that they also discussed a Super League. And a lot of people think that because of what Tony Petitti said in their little conference after the meeting, that everyone thinks, oh, the Super League's not going to happen. First of all, that's not what they said. Okay, Tony Petitti said that, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but he basically said that he has not had anything put in front of him. That he has not had anything put in front of him that the Big Ten can't already do themselves. That does not mean a Super League's never going to happen. Because a Super League is going to happen. That's the reality that you have to understand. And I would put more money on no group of 5 teams being a part of the Super League than one group of 5 team being a part of the Super League. I don't think Memphis is. I don't think Boise State is. I don't think South Florida is. I don't think Tulane is, or Texas State or UTSA. I don't think a single one of them, because of how much money it's going to cost for them to be a part of a Super League. It's going to cost an insane amount of money that they don't have. Most group of 5 teams are not making money doing athletics. They're not. Most of them are losing money. That's the reality. So if you think that, oh, we're gonna have Tulane and who else? Memphis and Boise State and Wyoming. No, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's pretty much going to be the Power Four conferences, and that's it. That's what it's going to be. And they're going to schedule each other, and we're going to have a big old playoff. That's what's going to happen. I don't know when exactly it's going to happen, but it's coming. The earliest it would happen, I think, would be the 2026 football season. So the season after next season. It's coming, guys. And you got to get on board with it. You don't have to love it, but you have to accept it. I mean, you got to, because it's going to be your reality soon. It really is. And that's part of the reason why I don't really understand the purpose of Florida State and Clemson wanting to leave the ACC. I don't really understand the purpose of the Pac-12 all of a sudden trying to revitalize itself. The Super League's coming soon anyways. It's right around the corner. I'll be interested to see the format and how they want to do everything. What will the conferences look like? What will the divisions look like? What will everything look like? Scheduling. Because I'll tell you this, there's going to be no more, once this Super League happens, there's going to be no more of this, oh, we're going to play Ball State in week 2. No more. The easiest game on your schedule will be Vanderbilt, will be Wake Forest, will be Cincinnati, will be Purdue. That'll be the easiest game on your schedule. Because these TV networks, did you see the number Georgia Alabama did? 14 million. It averaged 14 million viewers. They want more of that. You're going to have more Georgia Bama, Ohio State, Oregon, right? LSU, Michigan, something like that. You're going to have more of those. That's the new reality. And you got to get on board with it. And if you don't want to get on board with it, all right, fine. We're going to move on without you. I think it's a great thing for college football. And it's not me saying, oh, the group of 5 is going to die. It's not going to die. They can still play football. They just need to create their own league, have their own playoffs. I think the group of 5 teams should have had their own playoffs this entire time. They just play every year for a bowl game, basically. Because if they get in the playoff, they're going to get annihilated. Watch. When Boise State gets in, or Liberty, watch them get absolutely toasted. And then you'll understand. The group of 5 needs to just have their own league with their own playoff system. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. And just so we're clear, the Super League's only going to be in effect for football, just so we're clear. It's not going to be in effect for basketball. Basketball is going to be the exact same. And we'll still have March Madness and all that. They're not going to, trust me, they ain't going to go away from March Madness and the Cinderella stories and all that. They would never. That's too much money being left on the table. But we're going to end the episode there. I've almost hit the 20-minute mark. I'll be in Athens for Georgia, Mississippi State. Obviously, like I said, I won't be at the game, but I will be in the city meeting some family. And I hope everyone has a tremendous Friday. It's a beautiful day. Go outside and play. Our hearts and prayers are out there for everyone who was affected by Hurricane Milton down in Florida. Hope you got to safety. I hope you didn't stay where you were, because that would not be a smart decision. But I hope everyone's okay down there. And hopefully things will be back to normal soon. Thank you very much for listening.